I did not know that.
Well,
See? So you're seeing the naked picture, is that right?
No, I'm not looking. I'm looking at my email right now.
all
You
right.
just signed me
Well,
on
I'm,
the email.
I'm guessing Cosmo doesn't do full nudity also in their
Yeah, but Kevin just
centerfold.
informed me that there's a little bit of blurring going on. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Hey, you know
Anyway.
what? It's all about the education of
It's
whoever wants to be
okay
educated
with
on this
me.
point.
It's okay with me. But my point was really that
It's
not
a
that
double standard.
Well, not only that, but Martha Coakley was a terrible candidate. What happened is after she won her primary election in December, she went on vacation for 3 weeks. Now, I realize it's Christmas break, but when you're about to be elected in a special election, you don't go on break for 3 weeks. She was an awful candidate. And I think it was Kurt Schilling, more than anything else, not knowing Red Sox in Boston. I mean, if anyone who knows people from Boston, every one of them is a rabid Red Sox fan.
So
Remember, 3% difference.
I'm try to understand it here.
3% difference,
and
she wins.
If she had done a centerfold picture, you think that would be less damaging?
And name the ball player.
She couldn't name a ball player on a
Actually,
team?
I think so.
You know, Harris.
But I also think women can't do centerfolds and get elected the way men can.
Harris, let's put it this way: if the administration would stop driving the bus over her, and so she can get the tire marks off her back.
It is interesting.
Look, Martha Coakley ran and won an impressive race as an attorney general. She did not run the best race for the Senate seat. She also had the insertion of Axelrod's workers there because the same guy that put Deval Patrick in the White House is Axelrod, and his people were involved in the campaign when things started really going bad for her in the last month. So before they throw her under the bus, realize that they were involved in this. This was not just a Martha Coakley race. Now, she lost to independents.
They tried to save her at the last minute. That's no question about that.
2.5 million independents in Massachusetts. 1.5 million rough registered Democrats, about 500 and change thousand in Republicans. I've lived there. When you go into areas like Springfield, Massachusetts, Fitchburg, Framingham, Worcester County, these are heavy blue-collar towns. They're also heavy Catholic towns, and a lot of the areas even south of Boston and even north of Boston and Revere and other areas in Natick. These are areas where blue-collar voters saw job losses in the local area be very bad. They've been at the hands of Democrat policies for many decades. And the Democrats offered them nothing. He ran on national security, the terror trials. He ran on health care, certainly. That's a good issue. But it was the pocketbook issues of jobs and economy that gave people basically a choice. Do we want somebody else?
David, why do you think that people will turn to the people who gave us the greatest depression since the Great Depression rather than the people who are trying to fix it? Because I really have a hard time understanding that. Here it is.
Bush is out of the White House.
It's not just Bush. It's the Republicans running up the largest deficit in American history. It's taking off the regulations of the banks, which to this day, Republicans don't want to regulate the big banks, which I don't understand since they got us into this mess along with AIG and Goldman Sachs.
Okay, Mark.
Why would they turn to the people who caused the mess? I think Martha Coakley was a candidate.
They turned away.
Difference, and she wins.
They turned away from an administration that spent $3.1 trillion in 2009, which is
$3.1 trillion. I don't know where you're getting those numbers.
$787 billion in stimulus, the omnibus bill close to $500 million, the variety of the tarps and bailouts.
All right.
So when
you're not giving a deficit, you're giving total spending.
I'm giving total spending. Total spending of $3.1 trillion.
Did you complain about spending in 2008?
Actually, I did.
Did you?
I did, and Harris can attest.
I
got to tell you.
enough to know that he was complaining then, too.
Good for you, because very few Republicans.
We have an administration that raised the debt ceiling in December to over $12 trillion to get it to February, and is now about to raise it again to $14.3 trillion. So what the people looked at was people look at their pocketbooks, Harris. Let me just use this analogy. If you run up your credit limit at the bank, and you go to use that credit card, can you go back to the bank and say, you know what, guys, raise it a little bit more because I need some more to spend? The bank's going to say, pay down the credit line, and then you can use the card again. This administration is saying, we're going to just raise the debt ceiling, borrow more, borrow against our future.
They're acting like Republicans here.
Let me
That's
step in here
amazing.
for
How many
just a
times
second.
Republicans raise the debt ceiling?
Mark, you throw that word out too easily.
A couple things, and I don't often find myself reading a whole lot of commentary before I come down for the program, but this did catch my eye because I'm hearing it from Mark Levine and I'm hearing it from other Dems, and we're going to move on from this point so we can talk about some other things. But James Carville this morning is saying that the Democrats need to learn the blame game better. I mean, I hear you saying Martha Coakley ran a bad campaign.
She ran a bad campaign. I don't think anyone disputes that.
But
yep.
some Democrats, including James Carville, are saying, you know what? Maybe they ought to be blaming George W. Bush more, which is so interesting. It's
it takes
FT.com, it's financialtimes.com if you want to check this out, and you can leave comments or whatever you want to do. But this kind of caught my eye because what I don't hear in the rhetoric coming from the Democrats at this point is, let's do a little introspective. Instead, you have people like Carville and yourself calling for blame, blame, blame. And
no solutions.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Just blame.
Solutions.
Hold on. Isn't that exactly what y'all were accusing the conservatives and Republicans of doing? Just blame, 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 no.
Well, that is the Republican policy. No. That is their policy. It's fascinating to me that today Republicans consider a 41st senator to be a tremendous victory. Do you know the last time Republicans had 60 senators? I looked it up.
Well,
it was more.
It is a tremendous victory if he's the one who can block health care reform.
Here's the thing.
And he said it right here on this program. His vote can do it.
Here's the thing that's very interesting. The last time Republicans had 60 votes in the Senate was during the time that Republicans were actually progressive. It was under Teddy Roosevelt more than 100 years ago. Now, here's the difference. And they did have one from 21 to 23. They had 59. Alaska and Hawaii were in a state. They could break a filibuster in 1923, 80 years ago. Here's my point. Because Democrats want to see the government succeed, they have not filibustered every Republican program. Yet, Republicans, there were more filibusters in 2009 than the entire history of the United States prior to that. The Republicans are setting a new standard. They're saying you must have 60 to govern. If the Democrats had set that standard, the Republicans would not have passed a single piece of legislation since the 1920s. The Republicans want to shut the government down.
That's the difference.
Okay.
We're not going to get to any other topics
the Democrats since 2006 have had control of Congress. They have the president now. In 1 year and a few days, they have done relatively nothing.
Because of the filibuster.
Let me finish. Don't filibuster me. When they had the votes, they couldn't get their own party in line. If you had good policy, your own party would vote for it, and that's the issue.
My next point.
Didn't happen with Bush. He didn't get 60 votes. He used budget reconciliation to get his tax cut.
Let's talk about
He's
David
not
Plouffe
president
for a minute.
anymore.
But the point is we can use reconciliation,
Mark,
too. Go ahead.
We saw David Plouffe on the 2008 campaign for the then candidate, Barack Obama. Oh, look, there's a nice picture. He looks like a motivational speaker in this picture.
He does.
I'm going to help you turn your life around and get your wife to come back to you. No, that's not what he's saying. Anyway, to bring him back in the last couple of days, what exclamation point do you think that's making? And before we go on, I want to read just a couple, so keep that nugget in your brain. You brought up the point that there's been a call for seriousness and a step up to use that majority, and the call is coming from David Plouffe. How important is it that he's back in the game?
It's very important for the Democrats because they need another Rahm Emanuel to engineer some wins. They're clearly in trouble. They're not in trouble because of the Republicans. And by the way, a little thing on the Republicans on Virginia, Massachusetts, and New Jersey. It was a win against bad policy, not necessarily all of it pro-Republican when you look at the independent vote in Massachusetts, for instance. So what they need now is they need an engineer. They need another Rahm Emanuel or Axelrod to win races. They're in serious trouble because people are doing some things that they hoped people would never do. They're reading the bills. They're paying attention.
Well, the lawmakers aren't reading the bills, so I guess the public should read the bills.
And the people are demanding accountability. They haven't gotten the transparency. And frankly, they're sick of the lies and deceptions that have come out of a lot of this administration.
So what can David Plouffe accomplish?
David Plouffe ran a great campaign for President Obama. He could put out some talking points. It isn't about David Plouffe.
What can't he do?
He's just a person. He's a good political strategist. I think it's a big deal making it about David Plouffe. That's not the issue.
What
the
do you
issue
think is missing in this administration?
Well, I think that President Obama needs to make clear that he is running against a do-nothing Republican minority. It's very interesting. Harry Truman ran against a do-nothing Congress. The Republicans have said you need 60 votes for anything. They even got Olympia Snowe of Maine to vote against our troops, body armor for our troops, which everyone knew the Republicans supported because they wanted to filibuster every single Democratic bill. If they make this government broken, because they will set the standard that you always need 60 to do everything, if they set that standard, they will, in effect, shut the government down for a generation.
What is this White House missing?
This White House is missing a few things. One is they will not govern the country correctly as a center-right nation. We have a far-left
nation.
We have a far-left agenda in play, and they won't listen to the very people they claim they represent. That, frankly, is what is turning the people on the administration. And independents as a whole have left the Democrat Party in more numbers. They left the Republicans, too. But they're looking at both parties, frankly, but more the Democrats and saying, you're not doing what's right for America on national security, on health care. You're not doing what's right on the economy. We're not seeing any substantial recovery. When we see something like what happened with the markets on Friday, where, and
oh, they bled.
Okay, the markets bled.
Yeah, they didn't like Scott Brown, did they?